The medulla.
Good, the medulla. I don't see any renal corpuscles. All I see are a lot of cross sections of tubes. This is the renal medulla. What is this structure here?
Collecting duct.
That's going to be a limb of Henley.
Thick limb of the loop of Henle. What about this one here?
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
Collecting duct.
That's the collecting duct. Look at the difference. I'm going to show you again. Because what you want to pay attention to is the position of the nucleus relative to the lumen. So look over here. The nucleus is right next to the lumen. That's the thick limb of the loop of Henle. Compare that to over here. I've got the nucleus, then some cytoplasm, then the lumen. So a puffier cytoplasm. And that's the collecting duct. So what's this one here? Thick limb of the loop of Henle. What's this one down here? Collecting duct. How about this one here? Thick limb of the loop of Henle. How about over here? This one. Thick limb of the loop of Henle. How about over here? Collecting duct. So you've got to kind of just bounce around with your eyes and train yourself to pick them out by looking at that epithelium. Okay. So that was the renal medulla. You can, I didn't ask you to. It's not on your list to identify because they're hard to find. Okay? All right, so what layer of the kidney am I in now?
The cortex.
How do you know?
Renal corpuscle.
I'm in the renal cortex because I see renal corpuscle, right? There's a big renal corpuscle. All the way from here, all the way across to here is a renal corpuscle. I'm still hearing vocabulary issues as I'm wandering around. A renal corpuscle is made of a glomerulus and a glomerular capsule, right? So they are not interchangeable terms. The entire renal corpuscle goes from here all the way across here. Renal corpuscle is a combination of the glomerulus in here and the glomerular capsule, which would be out here. Right? So as I'm identifying parts of the corpuscle, here's the glomerulus, the ball of capillaries. This space would be called capsular space. What would be sitting in this capsular space in real life?
Filtrate.
Filtrate. There's filtrate filling up this space. It is not empty. And then what am I seeing out here?
Parietals.
I heard it over there. Parietal layer
Bowman's capsule.
of Bowman's capsule, or parietal layer of the glomerular capsule. So you've got glomerulus in here, capsular space, parietal layer of the glomerular capsule. Okay. Then I look out here. What am I seeing here? That's a distal convoluted tubule. What am I seeing right here? Proximal convoluted tubule. Get in the habit of saying the words, because you need to be able to write out distal convoluted tubule, proximal convoluted tubule. It's fine when you're taking notes in shorthand to write PCT and DCT, but you need to know what that stands for, right? What about if I point it over here? Proximal convoluted tubule. What about up here?
Distal convoluted tubule.
Distal convoluted tubule. Good, good. So I just wanted to throw that kidney slide up there again because, I don't know, something about Thanksgiving break. Everybody sort of forgets some of what we did last time. All right. Then we also need to look at, what organ am I looking at?
Ureter.
Ureter. That's the ureter right there. So the ureter, you're seeing it in cross-section, that's the ureter. Name this layer.
Transitional epithelium.
Transitional epithelium. Name this layer.
Lamina.
Lamina propria, name this layer. Muscularis layer. Notice how thin the muscularis layer is? It doesn't need to be thick. Gravity does most of the work of draining the fluid down this ureter. Doesn't need a lot of muscular contraction. And then what am I seeing out here? Adventitia and adipose tissue. So again, transitional epithelium, lamina propria, kind of in this orangish color, the second layer. Muscularis layer, adventitia out here. Again, the organ, the ureter. Everybody good on that one? Alright. Let's do the bladder slide next. Alright. There's the bladder slide. What am I seeing as this first layer here?
Transitional.
Transitional epithelium. How about this layer here? Lamina propria again. You've again got this loose connective tissue, lamina propria. What about down here? Detrusor muscle. Because remember, the muscle in the bladder is named, has a name. So we don't just say muscular layer like we do in the ureter, because the muscle in the bladder is called the detrusor muscle. So transitional epithelium, lamina propria, from here all the way to here, and then from here all the way to the bottom of the slide, detrusor muscle. This is all detrusor muscle here. And then what am I seeing as, what is this bump right here?
Rugae.
Rugae. Here's another rugae here. Here's another rugae here. So notice, what is the rugae made of? Good. Transitional epithelium and lamina propria. It's folds of those two layers. Everybody with me? Okay. So those are the urinary system slides. And then
What would the outer layer be after the detrusor muscle?
depends on which part of the bladder you're. The camera magnifies more than the scope, so it's hard for me to show you exactly what you'll see on the scope. But let me show you. I'll kind of go back and forth between the two compartments. So what you're looking at up here at the top, I'm seeing all of these tubes up here, and all of those tubes have stratified epithelium in them. So what I'm seeing up here, this is all testis. That's all testis. And then coming through here, this thick band of pink, all of that is tunica albuginea. Think about the location of the testis. It is outside of a body cavity. Wouldn't it make sense that you would want a very thick wrapping around the outside of it to protect it? So when you see that tunica albuginea and it's exceptionally thick, it makes sense when you remember that this organ is sitting outside of a body cavity. So it's not very well protected. Yeah. So that's the tunica albuginea. And then if I kind of cruise down a little bit, I see again more tubes. But now if I look in these tubes, the cells look kind of elongated right here. So all of this would be epididymis. Okay. All right, so now let's go back to the testis and look more closely for those interstitial cells. Let's zoom in. So what I'm seeing, this is one seminiferous tubule here. This is one seminiferous tubule here. These cells out here would be interstitial cells of Leydig making testosterone. So again, putting it together with a lecture today, if this were my seminiferous tubule right here, spermatogonia would be out here at the edge of that tubule. Then that spermatogonia would be changing into a primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatid, and releasing sperm into the lumen. So again, as you're thinking about development, it's moving toward the lumen as it's producing the final product of sperm.
From spermatid, did you go to spermatozoa?
Sperm and spermatozoa mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody okay with that slide? All right, only a couple more slides from today. Slide 27. So this is at medium power with a camera on it, and you still can't see individual cells. That's how tiny they are. It's medium power. So let's take it up to high power. And now I can actually start to see some structure. So if I'm looking, this one's a pretty good one right here, where I can see the head, the mid piece where it's a little thicker right there, and then the flagellum. Over here, same thing, head, mid piece right here, flagellum coming down. And again, that is on high power with a camera assisting with magnification. Yeah, so they're not that easy to find under the microscope. And I have to play with it a little bit to make sure you can get it focused. Okay? If you're focusing in on these big globs like that, it's way too large, right? That's just a little cluster of sperm that all kind of got captured together in some dye. Okay, so that's easy. That's the second slide. And then the section of the penis. And this is on low power. On your scopes, you'll be able to see a little bit more than I can see on here, because again, we get extra magnification. But even at low power right here, I can see the lumen right here. To me, that's the easiest part to get oriented to. Find the lumen first, because the lumen is the corpus spongiosum. So, it has been a vacation, I tell you. So the lumen is the spongy urethra. Say it again. The lumen is the spongy urethra. That's in here. The tissue around the spongy urethra, out here, that is all corpus spongiosum. All this tissue all the way around the urethra. Wouldn't matter where I point, here, or way over to here, or way over to here. Any of the tissue around the spongy urethra is part of corpus spongiosum. Then I come back here, and I've got this band of connective tissue that is separating the corpus spongiosum from the corpus cavernosa. So this is the tunica albuginea. And then in here, corpus cavernosa, corpus cavernosa. There's a little piece of tunica albuginea extending right through here, but it's hard to see. It's hard to see the separation between the two corpus cavernosa. That's okay, right? So either of those, that's the corpus cavernosa, tunica albuginea, corpus spongiosum, spongy urethra. And again, the organ, of course, would be the penis.